So this is the second day of my horror films, and yeah. Today the plan is to do 3. I have a 4th extra. I highly doubt that I will choose it. I kind of decided that I'll do the extra 2 films just next weekend. Right now I'm going to be watching a film called Savageland. I think it's the lowest rated film of all the films that I'm watching in this. It has like a 6 or a 5.9 on IMDb. And with it, we're going docking again with Dranke, which is an amber ale. It's a 5%, which is the strongest beer so far. Yeah. This is good. This is like exactly up my alley. So, off to Savageland we go. So, Savageland. It was good. It's a mockumentary, and it feels like a documentary. Like, this film, I feel like, did what Hell House was trying to do. It also kind of has 2 types of horror in it, and one is this, so to tell you what Savageland is about, there is a massacre in this town on the Mexican border in Arizona. Sangre de Cristo. It's just like north of the border in Hindman County. I don't think this is a real actual town, but yes. But according to the films in Hindman County, it's called Sangre de Cristo, and there were 57 people that lived there. All except one died in one night. And the one who survived is a Mexican illegal immigrant. And everything that has happened that night is put on his shoulders. He has pictures of what happened, and they are really creepy, and you have no idea what you're watching. There's really no real answer to what is actually happening. There is something, I've seen theories about it being skinwalkers, demons, or for me it kind of reminded me of zombies, because there seems to be a zombie rule, like if you've been bitten you're going to turn, but it's only going to happen when you die. So you get bitten, you die, and then you turn, which is interesting. Not quite zombie, but you know. Yes. So I don't really know what the thing is. But there's the horror of the actual night and what happened, but then there's also the horror of the community that is so racist and anti-Mexican immigrants. And just the whole thing that everything is put on him, even though there's no way he did everything, because the evidence just does not support that at all. And he has these pictures. He tells his story to a psychiatrist who believes him, because he's telling her the truth. He never changes his story. And the pictures tell you what happens, basically. But they, both the tape and the pictures are deemed inadmissible in court by a white judge, and he is considered guilty by everyone in that town. Except for a few people that know enough to know that there's like no way he did all of it. Because the evidence just doesn't support that, as well as there's a wife of one of the victims is like, there's no way he would not have been able to shoot this man if he came at him. Like, there's no way, because he always, it's a great shot, he always hits, just takes the one shot to kill an animal, and just always, just one shot, dead. There's no way he missed. So many times. and there are things like this, and it's so steeped in this just reality of this racism. And this film is from 2017, so this is like, so it comes out like right at the beginning or middle of Donald Trump's presidency, and just the whole anti-immigration rhetoric that was going on, and the whole mess of that is such a big part of that era. And it's like, it feels sometimes a bit too real. But it's a film, and they achieve what they're trying to do very well, and I don't understand why it has such a low score on IMDb. Like I said, it feels like a documentary. Everything, the way it's built up, the way it's shot, the way it's edited, the way the actors are, and particularly the one who plays the author, he's really good. He's just like, he believes what he's doing so much, and it's so good, I love it. They're all really good. Some people I just hate because they're just so obviously showing their bias. But there are some people that are like literally talking about like us versus them, and the entire like, they're all doing illegal stuff, they're coming illegally into this country and they're doing illegal stuff, and like, no, not really, most of them aren't doing illegal stuff. Most of them are coming for work. There are parts of this film that make me feel the same way as Dancer in the Dark by Lars von Trier did, where you've got an innocent person basically that gets framed for murder. Well, she actually killed the man, but it was in self-defense, and she gets the death penalty and is hanged. And she's the sweetest, most innocent person in the world. That's Dancer in the Dark, by the way, and I have never felt as bad as when I watched that film. This film did not make me feel as bad, but it had that same kind of feeling, like you can't do anything because these people have these ideas that you're wrong and nothing is going to change them, and like, he did not get a fair trial. The jury only spent like 30 minutes deciding his fate. He got the death penalty, and it's just the horror of that reality is so strong, and I don't know. I like this film so much. I'm so happy I actually picked this, because it felt like a documentary. I mean, there are moments where you can see that it is not an actual documentary, that it is actually staged and acted and all that, but it just, the way that it's shot and the way it's edited and the difference in like texture and everything, it just, the ending also completely tells you that it's not like a real documentary, but it feels like a real documentary because of the way that it's edited and shot, and like just the way the story is being told feels like the way that a story would be told in a real documentary. This is a good one. This did it way better than Hell House LLC. The next film gives me a vibe of a film that I've seen. I haven't actually watched this film. Well, at least I don't think I've seen this film. I might have seen this film years ago, I don't know. This is called, it's called Stir of Echoes. It has Kevin Bacon in the lead role. I think it's from like 2004. It feels very much like a film from that era. And something of it very much reminds me of The Sixth Sense, which I think is why it feels like very much a film from that era. At least the storyline, well, the synopsis, and just the stills that I've seen, basically just on IMDb. It very much feels like a film from that era. I also might have seen it, but I don't remember. So, I don't know. I don't think so. Usually I remember I've seen a film, but... So that's the next film. Next beer is an October beer. It's called Boo Álver. From Álver Brewery, which is in Garðabær, which is in the capital area. Also, all of their beers are vegan. This is an amber ale. Yeah. And this is their Halloween beer. But Boo Álver, which is... So Boo Álver is a creature in Iceland, which is like a house elf. But not like in Harry Potter, but... This is kind of a trickster house elf because it will go around and move things. No, there's a saying, like, if the thing that you're looking for isn't in the location you think it is gonna be in, and it's somewhere else, that the Boo Álver took it and moved it. So it's a bit of a trickster one. You don't really want them in your house. But yeah, so, but this is written like a B-O-O with an exclamation mark and then Álver, so it's like a play on words. It's a pun, basically. And yeah, this is an amber ale again. So it's 2 amber ales today. Let's open this up and pour it. This one feels like it tastes, at least so far, like it's more bitter. I don't know, to me in the camera it looks darker, but also like when I look at it right now it looks lighter. So I don't know about the color with the other amber ale. It's good. Like I said, I like ales. It's one of the reasons why I have ales. But, on to Stir of Echoes. So, Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon. I'm like 95% sure that I've seen this before. I know around 10 years ago I was looking into horror films. I was really watching a lot of horror films at the time, and I googled like best horror films or something, and I got like a list of 50. I'm pretty sure that this was one of them. It was also one of the ones that I was like fairly interested in, and I'm pretty sure I might have watched it back then. There was a moment where I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this. Usually there's a moment that I'm like, yes, I have seen this. That film didn't have this. It's actually fairly generic, and for that time, if you've watched films from that time, they're very much, they date themselves very obviously. For one, due to costumes. There was a way of like scripting and editing as well as shooting that is like very distinctive of the films from around like 2000, especially ones that weren't like, that were kind of mainstream. There's a definite feel to them, and it's kind of why I thought Sixth Sense was just done amazingly. There's nothing really special about this film. It also doesn't really have a lot of scares. It's a ghost film, and it isn't scary. But that's also maybe because I've seen it before, but there's like, I'm pretty sure I've seen it before. I don't really have any to say about this film, not anything. I don't feel like it has a point. Like, honestly, most of the other films I've watched, it was kind of that thing also with Hell House. It didn't really have a point. This is becoming a pattern, I think, where I like the first film, don't like the second film nearly as much. Like, it's not bad. Like, I wouldn't say it's bad. I wouldn't say Hell House is bad either. Like, Hell House had a lot of really good moments. They were really good with the scares. It wasn't complete. It wasn't like jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. Which this film had a little bit of, where there was like just sound, and you're like, why are we just putting sound? And then there was nothing happening really, because that didn't use the sound like that. Like, there were mannequins that weren't supposed to be moving, and then they were actually standing right in front of you, and you were just like, what? That was well done. Hell House did that well. Hell House was lacking the story. This film is kind of the opposite way around, where it has the story, it just doesn't have the scariness. But it's also not like the best story, but there's a story, so. Like I said, I don't have a lot to say about the Studebackers. So I'm pretty sure I've seen this film before, I just don't remember it because it's just generic or just not memorable. On to the last film, which is the longest film as well as the oldest film and the highest rated film on IMDb at least, and probably like just generally. I mean, it's a classic. So I'm going to be watching Whatever Happened to Baby Jane next. It's of course Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. I'm not going to do the remake. The original Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which is gaslighting and fun stuff. Sibling rivalry with two actresses that reportedly hated each other. Playing sisters that don't like each other. Well, at least one that is basically torturing the other because she can. Also, last beer of the night is this. I don't know where that. Okay, this is it. Their barcode has the Icelandic flag on it. That's a fun thing. It's a Geitingur, which is steed. It's their pale ale, which is a pale rider, it's called. It has a 4.5 alcohol. This is produced by Geitingur Öl, which is in Coburg, which is also in the capital area. It's actually in between Garðabær and Reykjavík. That one. Oh wow, this one's light. It's also fairly clear. Oh. I mean, it's just fairly simple. I mean, it's a pale ale. It's not as tasty as the one I had yesterday. Let's finish this. On to Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. So, yes. I'm kind of obviously not in the same clothes. I know there's also different lighting because I actually have a second lamp that's very yellow. Just white, kind of yellow. And one lamp that's white light. Need a second white light lamp, or just like a bulb. But what happened was, while watching Baby Jane, I was really tired and there was something, I don't know if it was my internet connection or something, it stopped like halfway through and I didn't notice for like a minute. So I was like, okay, like I'm too tired to do this. Because I finished my beer last time, I kind of got a new one. Which is, this is a Christmas one, by the way, since it's December 11th and I posted night one yesterday, or technically yesterday. So this is a Christmas one. It's called Svageland. It's a chocolate milk stout, so it's not an ale. Chocolate milk stout. It's from Böhleröl, which makes one of my favorite ales, which is Killer Queen, an Earl Grey pale ale. They're in Coburg. That's almost right. Maybe it's the light, but it looks very black. And kind of like frothy soda. It's very chocolatey, but it's good. I like it. I'm gonna get back to this film so I can actually watch it. Oh yeah, and I didn't say it. I've been very busy for like the last month and a half, which is why I haven't actually finished this video up until now, or the last one. So finally I did it. I finished Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. It was a little bit of a mess because there was something going on with like either my internet or the place where I could watch the film because it kept stopping and sometimes it just wouldn't let me get to the place that I was at before. I had to constantly refresh at certain moments. It's a really fun movie, and I know that I said like with Lighthouse, with the last one, that I thought Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was going to be more in line with Lighthouse than with any of the other ones, and I was totally right with that because it is very much a psychological kind of film. The story is about two sisters, Blanche and Jane. Jane was a huge child star when she was a child. She was called Baby Jane Hudson. There were dolls made in her likeness. And when they grew up, it switches around. Blanche becomes the movie star and Jane goes out of the spotlight because she just cannot transition to this new dynamic, this new talent. Because she was a child star that sang in like dance and did like vaudeville and shows like that, she can't transition to films or film acting when Blanche becomes like the major thing, and there's a very volatile relationship there because Jane was a very spoiled child and feels like Blanche, it ruins her life because she stops being famous. She stops being the special one and Blanche becomes the special one. Then Blanche gets crippled, her spine is broken in a car accident, accident. Blanche's career ends, but she's the one that made all the money. She's the one that bought the house. But now she's stuck in a wheelchair on the second floor of a house. And this has been like 30 years where Jane has been taking care of her sister. And there are things changing because Blanche is selling the houses and she's trying to get Jane into, I think, a mental institution. It's never actually said out loud, but she's trying to get her to see a doctor because she's not right. Like, she's not mentally right. She's an alcoholic as well, but she's having delusions. And this film follows Jane as she spirals out of control to torturing her sister, literally isolating her from everything outside, taking every single thing away from her. There were so many moments in this film when Blanche was so close to actually be able to get someone's attention, where it was so close, like, that she could be saved, and she wasn't. This was a really good film, and it's nerve-wracking. Jane is kind of more of the lead. In the first half of the film, it's more of where you kind of watch both of them, and then there's a certain point where Jane completely loses it, and she like ties her sister up, stops giving her food, because Blanche is reliant on Jane for food and basically everything. Jane can take everything away, and she does that, and she ends up tying her to the bed and literally keeping her prisoner, and then she murders somebody, and when the police start sniffing around, she panics and runs away with her sister, and the police start looking for her. There's a point of like no return where Jane completely loses it. This is so well built up, it's so well put together. And you've got like Bette Davis and Joan Crawford, who reportedly hated each other while filming this film. But this very much is about watching Jane slowly but surely losing her grip on reality. And it's done in a very effective way. And that's actually something that it has in common with Lighthouse from like the previous night, which was also about like a weird, isolated spiral out of control, because in this film Blanche and Jane are fairly isolated themselves. There is like a little bit of a community around them in particularly, but Jane very quickly kind of cuts that off at the beginning of the film, because you've got like Elvira, who is there to assist them. I think she's the cleaner, and she's very good friends with Blanche. And she's kind of there to advocate for Blanche, and you want her to be able to do that. Then there's the neighbours, who also like could very much be there to help. There are moments of this film, especially in the end, that kind of remind me of Sunset Boulevard and the way Sunset Boulevard ended. Which has, I mean, if you don't know, Sunset Boulevard has a very famous ending. As she walks down the stairs, she's ready for her close-up. I don't remember what the character's name was. But, I love that movie, by the way. Sunset Boulevard is great. With the old, washed out, Hollywood superstar that has completely lost touch with reality because she's so wrapped up in her own, previous fame from like 30 years ago, after having committed a crime, is completely like in this frame of mind that she's coming back you know, to Hollywood, to fame, to the fame that she left behind like 20, 30 years ago. I mean, that's the through line for like both Sunset Boulevard and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. However, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a kind of about the person that is like falling to pieces, while Sunset Boulevard is not about that one. It's about the one she actually kills. We know he dies. It's the opening of the movie, which is also very, very much known when it comes to Sunset Boulevard. So me telling you that he dies is not a spoiler, because that's how the movie starts. It's about Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, so not Sunset Boulevard. But they do have quite a lot in common. I also feel like I mentioned Lighthouse before, like, yes, totally. There's a definite theme, I feel like, with these films that I picked, in particularly the three that I kind of went through in each night. Like, well, Videodrome doesn't really have any commonality with anything else, but we had two kind of mockumentaries, Hell House LLC as well as Savageland. We had two ghost films, or like, you know, spook films, haunted house kind of films, and that was, again, Hell House LLC, as well as Stir of Echoes, which was the second film of each night. And then there's the psychological side, and the torment, and the isolation, and kind of torture that, like, happens in The Lighthouse, and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. If you want to see more of this, like I said, I wanted to do Christmas films and Christmas beers as well. I just have not had the time or energy to be able to actually do that, since I couldn't even finish the October one. But I wanted to finish the October one since I'd already started. I also just... horror films are fun! I like doing that. Having said that, Christmas films are not as fun. I would love to do this with like a lot of different things. It would be fun to do this with Icelandic films. Introducing them. Just let me know if you want to see anything specific. If you want to see me do videos like this more. Because like, this is something I like doing. This is something I would love to be like doing in between. There's a few other stuff that I need to work on that I would love to be doing at like a bi-monthly or something like that. Like a series kind of thing. Yes, I do need to edit a 3-hour video as well as like a 10-minute video. They're both writing related. One of them I want to make a series, or like a possibly a live stream. I'm gonna do the extra films. It's gonna happen. I will see you next time. Bye.